welcome to our countdown of the top 10 worst movie remakes. Some remakes manage to capture the magic of the original, but others, well, not so much. Whether it's a lack of creativity, poor casting, or simply failing to live up to the original's legacy, these films left fans shaking their heads. From misfires in the horror genre to disappointing action reboots, we're diving into the movies that tried and failed to recapture the essence of what made the originals so memorable. Grab some popcorn because things are about to get cinematic. So, the 10th worst movie remake on our list is Flatliners. Courtney Holmes, Elliot Page, a medical student, is obsessed with discovering what happens after death. She comes up with an experiment to stop her heart for 60 seconds and measure her brain activity before being revived. She convinces 4 colleagues to join her, but what they uncover will haunt them forever. While the 1990 Flatliners, starring Kiefer Sutherland and Kevin Bacon, isn't a classic, Joel Schumacher's direction gave it a unique, engaging style. The 2017 remake, however, completely misses the mark, feeling dull, confusing, and ironically lifeless. It lacks the campy charm of the original, taking itself far too seriously. And on number 9, we have Red Dawn. In the small town of Spokane, Washington, chaos erupts as North Korean paratroopers invade. Marine Corps veteran Jed Eckert, Chris Hemsworth, leads a group of friends to a remote cabin, where they form a guerrilla resistance called the Wolverines. Willing to fight dirty, they take on the invaders. While the original Red Dawn, 1984, wasn't a cinematic gem, it at least had Patrick Swayze's charm. The 2012 remake, however, is a dull and lifeless action flick. Its most entertaining moment is when the Wolverines raid a subway, not for cash, but for cold cuts. Beyond that brief bit of humour, any excitement is short-lived. And on number 8, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street. The quiet town of Springwood, Ohio, hides a dark secret, one that its children will suffer for. High schooler Nancy Holbrook, Rooney Mara, is plagued by nightmares of a disfigured man with blades for fingers, only to realise she's not alone. As her friends start dying mysteriously, Nancy uncovers the town's sinister past. Reimagining a beloved horror franchise is a risky move, but A Nightmare on Elm Street, 2010, fails to deliver. Despite Jackie Earle Haley's eerie take on Freddy Krueger, the film is dull and uninspired. Horror fans, especially franchise devotees, won't miss much by skipping this lackluster remake. And the 7th worst movie remake is The Mummy. While on a reconnaissance mission in the Middle East, US Army Sergeant Nick Morton, Tom Cruise, stumbles upon an ancient tomb, accidentally unleashing the evil Egyptian pharaoh Akhmenet, Sophia Boutella. With humanity at risk of becoming her slave force, Morton teams up with unlikely allies to fight the supernatural threat. Unfortunately, The Mummy, 2017, proves this franchise was better off with Brendan Fraser. Intended to launch Universal's monster-filled dark universe, the film flops spectacularly. From Cruise's miscasting to its absurd plot twists, the movie is a chaotic mess, though admittedly never boring. And the 6th worst movie remake on our list is The Grudge. Detective Muldoon, Andrea Riseborough, relocates to a small Pennsylvania town to investigate the grisly murder of a family. As she delves into the case, she encounters a vengeful spirit that haunts anyone who steps foot in the cursed house. While Ju-On, The Grudge, 2002, left a lasting mark on Japanese and American horror, The Grudge, 2020, is a lackluster attempt at revitalizing the franchise. Though graphic and disturbing at times, it leans too heavily on cheap jump scares, sacrificing genuine tension. Lacking originality, the film offers nothing that hasn't been done better in far superior horror entries, making it yet another forgettable remake. And on number 5, we have Ben-Hur. Judah Ben-Hur, Jack Houston, a Jewish prince, is betrayed by his adopted brother, Roman officer Messala, Toby Kebbell, who falsely accuses him of treason. Enslaved aboard a Roman ship for years, Ben-Hur eventually escapes and returns to Jerusalem, seeking justice and revenge. With his homeland in chaos, he stands against the oppressive Roman regime. While Ben-Hur, 1959, is a landmark of cinematic grandeur, its 2016 remake falls flat. In trying to modernize the epic for contemporary audiences, it loses the scale and majesty that made the original so impactful, resulting in a hollow and forgettable adaptation. And on number 4, we have Point Break. FBI agent Johnny Utah, Luke Bracey, a former extreme sports athlete, goes undercover to infiltrate a group of daredevil criminals pulling off elaborate heists. During the mission, he grows close to their enigmatic leader, Bodhi, Edgar Ramirez, whose charisma masks a dangerous edge. The original Point Break, 1991, directed by Catherine Bigelow, remains a thrilling action staple with iconic sequences. The 2015 remake, while visually impressive, lacks the personality and energy of its predecessor. With nothing new to offer, it feels redundant and ultimately forgettable. And on number 3, we have Total Recall. Factory worker Douglas Quaid, Colin Farrell, longs to escape his dull life and jumps at the chance to experience a virtual vacation, where memories of a thrilling espionage adventure will be implanted. However, when the procedure goes wrong, Quaid suddenly becomes a wanted man. On the run, he uncovers a conspiracy that shatters everything he once believed. The original Total Recall, 1990, is a wild, over-the-top sci-fi ride, blending action, dark humour, and clever satire with charming 90s flair. In contrast, the 2012 remake feels hollow and uninspired. Stripped of its sharp edge and reduced to a generic PG-13 action flick, it lacks the original's creativity and bite. Science fiction fans, and movie lovers in general, are better off sticking with the classic. And the second worst movie remake is Oldboy. Advertising executive Joe Dosset, Josh Brolin, is mysteriously kidnapped and held in captivity for 20 years with no explanation. One day, he is suddenly released back into society, armed with nothing but a hammer and a relentless drive for answers. As he pieces together the mystery behind his imprisonment, he uncovers dark and disturbing truths. While Oldboy, 2003, is a bold and masterful cinematic achievement, brimming with raw emotion and intensity, the 2013 remake is a lackluster imitation. Despite flashes of brutality, it lacks the original's haunting sense of tragedy and emotional weight. The result is a dull and uninspired film that pales in comparison to the powerful and unforgettable original. And the last worst movie remake on our list is The Wicker Man. Sheriff Edward Malice, Nicolas Cage, travels to a remote island community to investigate the disappearance of a young girl. As he probes further, he learns of a strange ritual the townspeople are preparing for. With each new clue, the mystery deepens and danger looms ever closer. The Wicker Man, 2006, is widely regarded as one of the most unintentionally hilarious films ever made. Filled with absurd moments and a wildly entertaining performance from Nicolas Cage, this remake is almost impossible to take seriously. While it often feels like a parody of the eerie 1973 original, The Wicker Man, 2006, has earned a cult following for being so outlandishly fun, making it a unique entry in the horror genre. Which of these 10 movie remakes do you think is the worst? Let us know in the comments.